Please subscribe the channel for daily exclusive Reddit content, and don't forget to like and comment. Today's first story, my stay-at-home wife, 33F, thinks she's worth more than me, M37. We've been happily married for nearly 10 years, and have 2 kids, M8, 6F. She does an amazing job with them and a home, and I always let her know that. Also definitely work around the house whenever I can, and we share the childcare evenly. We stick to that, and have regular checkups to make sure both people feel things are fair. But we recently had an argument and I'm trying to see how I should approach this. I was at work earlier this week, still going to the office, and she emailed me an article, one of those how much stay-at-home moms are worth pieces, where they break down what a typical mom does and assign market value to everything, and it all adds up to what their annual salary would be. I'm sure you've seen them shared around Mother's Day. I make $140K/year. The article she sent put the value of a SAHM at $165K/year. I reply, yeah, you do so much, you're amazing, and she responds, I know I'm worth more than you. Okay, she's just teasing me, I guess. I send her back and go on with my day. That evening after we put the kids to bed, she brings it up again. I know you thought I was joking earlier about being worth more, but reading that really made me realize that you need to be doing more. There's a $25K gap between us, and you should try to close that, to be fair. I sat there for about a minute in silence, in surprise at the sheer stupidity of what my wife just said. First, these articles are fine sentiment, but actually drawing real financial conclusions from them is ridiculous. This one broke down the most simple bog standard tasks and assigned them absurd job equivalents and priced them accordingly, i.e. paying household bills as CPA work, pediatric work for putting a band-aid on a skinned knee, doctor of psychology for resolving an argument between the kids, CEO for managing the day-to-day household. I mean, come on. No problem with all this normally, since it's usually just shared as a thank you, but to actually have this stuff taken as literal fact and pitted against me is frankly outrageous. And second, this completely discounts all the work done for our kids in the home. All of hers adds up to this ridiculous amount of money, yet apparently I don't get to add everything I do after my job on top of the salary I bring home to support everyone. By this article's math, it would be quite a bit more than $25K. That she could have missed this is very distressing. I explained these things respectfully to her, including how hurt and disappointed all this was for me to hear and how unfair it was. She said I was devaluing her work as a SAHM and has been giving me the cold shoulder since. What should I do from here? TLDR, wife thinks things are fair, silly article convinces her that they actually aren't. Okay, first of all, at some point along the way during this argument, you stopped being on the same team. If all of the financial contributions go in the same pot, then together you guys are clearing $300,000. Wow. Neither of you would be able to do that on your own. Together as a team, you are mighty powerful. Why does she feel like it's a competition? There's something going on there. She needs to peel back the onion and figure that out. Maybe she doesn't feel it's as fair as you think it is. Maybe she doesn't feel as appreciated as she needs to feel. It's not necessarily your job to figure that out for her, but maybe if you can ask the right questions you can help her communicate what's actually going on here. Even if her article's valuing model wasn't suspect, income disparity in relationships is really common. Most people do not make the exact same amount as their spouse, and $25,000 isn't particularly noteworthy difference. How would she feel if you both work traditional 9-5s and you happen to make more? Then told her she needs to make up for it. Edit. To actually solve this argument though, you and her need to figure out where the underlying issue is. I doubt your wife read one article and suddenly decided the relationship was unequal. Perfect equality in a relationship, especially with kids involved, is basically impossible anyway. People being home more due to the pandemic has made housework inequalities more evident than before. If she can't figure out how to express her concerns in a more constructive fashion, perhaps couples counseling could assist. Putting all numbers aside, I think you need to read into the subtext of the argument, which is that your wife either doesn't feel appreciated or doesn't feel that the work is distributed fairly. That's the real problem. Now, I don't know your relationship or your work distribution, so I can't say if it's fair or not, but it sounds like she may be feeling burnt out or underappreciated, which is a problem, even if it's fair, because that's unsustainable and can lead to resentment. Couples therapy would probably be good in this situation. And for a start, just acknowledging that she seems like she might be hurting and that you don't want her to feel that way. Basically, come at the situation with a viewpoint of compassion instead of getting defensive, even though that's hard. I would say, after you ran the numbers, the most natural for you would be to quit work and be home with kids that go to school. That way you would both be making bank. Jokes aside, you need to figure out exactly what she wants here. It does not seem it is praise or value she is after. It does not seem like you are struggling financially. So what is she actually after? If I were to throw a wild guess, she is finding little purpose in her life when kids are in school. And while it is a lot of work to keep the house clean, manage 2 kids, and put dinner on the table, it is not a 8-hour job. Even if she overdo everything, it sounds unlikely that she works more than 4 hours a day. She knows the kids will need her less now, and her value at home is not what it was. I would encourage her to look for a job, even part-time, and compensate with getting a cleaner or buy services she now do. It has the added bonus of her seeing black and white that these services does not cost what she claims. It would be in her interest too. She is 33 and can literally do anything now. An extreme luxury. An alternative is to simply ignore it. This is a fad and might come up once a year. If I were in your position, I would be tempted to just go with it. Ah, wow. I really did not know it was that much. You are a total rockstar. I guess I will put in more work and chase that promotion, blah blah blah. What you do is another story. Ugh, I hate that stupid thing. I know it is supposed to be uplifting, but no, making dinner for the family does not equate to being a chef and the like. Doctor of Psychology for resolving an argument between the kids. The F I say, I was very good at helping the kids resolve their problems. I'm not a doctor of any kind. I'm not a psychologist of any kind. As a once manager, not even a CEO, and a SAHM, I can promise you that managing the home is not equivalent to being a CEO. What you do from here is suggest marriage counseling. You do not want to be held over a barrel by this false argument. What you do want to do, and seem to actually do, is have mad respect for her contribution to the family. That's the end of the first story. The next one, my F27 boyfriend, M29, thinks that because I work from home, I have time during the day to do chores around the house. At first, I thought the permanent move to work from home made by my company was going to be great. There are certainly other perks to it, but it has made many aspects of my life awful. My boyfriend has been an alcoholic for as long as I can remember. He actively drinks every single day and can't go one day without. He works for his father. He gets there at 4 p.m. and he's back home usually between 9:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. at the latest, so about 25 to 30 hours per week. I work 50 hours a week and my job is extremely demanding and stresses me out beyond belief sometimes. The work piles on so much, so quickly, I skip breaks all the time, or clock out if I have to and keep working, and forget I've eaten half the time. Many times when I log off from my main job, I move on to my personal computer, I freelance and have a few clients I do work for. I do all this, and he still makes more money than me. Sometimes I have more time, sometimes I feel like I have no time to myself at all. When I have some more time, I clock off and work out, take a shower, and get to my freelancing. Lately it's been no time at all. My boyfriend seems to think I've gotten a free ride. I can supposedly hang out at home all day and do whatever I want. Certainly I have time to do all these chores, right? And if I can't do them while working, I could just get up earlier and get some things done. I stay up all hours of the night working on my freelance work. I usually get 6 to 7 hours of sleep until I have to log back onto my full-time job. When I try to explain it to him, he acts like he understands, but it comes back up in conversation later, usually alcohol fueled. He brings it up all the time. When sober, it's passive aggressive. The past couple of days he's had to get into work early in the morning and work throughout the whole day. Tomorrow will be the third and last day he has to do it, then it's back to his normal schedule. So tonight he drank his booze and got angry with me that some things haven't been done, that he worked a 12-hour day and that I should be able to pull away from work for 5 minutes to do these things. I was still working on my freelance work, but I went to the bedroom to get away from him. A couple minutes later he opens the door to tell me I act like I do so much, but I'm just lazy, and then proceeded to slam the door. I'm angry and frustrated. I'm wondering if maybe I'm just the ***HOLE. A lot of the time I'm usually able to do the dishes and get some laundry done, but I feel like his expectancy of what I do around the house has shifted ever since I've been working from home. A lot of the time I miss going into the office and having it be a completely separate part of my life. Now it's meshed with home, and it's a mess. I get the weekends off, and he has Sundays and Mondays off and sometimes takes Wednesdays off, and he spends the day drinking and then starts these arguments with me while I'm at the computer. He'll see me check my phone a couple of times, responding to client emails, or texting a friend back, and he tells me he thinks all I do all day is sit on my phone. I'm not sure how to communicate with him that I'm trying my very best. I know I'm not perfect, but I work overtime constantly just to make an extra buck, and I really do give work my all. I get to as much as I can on the weekends, depending on how much freelance work I have. What do I have to do? Physically show him the work that I do during the day? Should I just pull away from work and just do these things? I've tried expressing that all my work stresses me out, and it turns into a competition, that he works harder than I do in a shorter amount of time, and he still finds time to do certain things. TLDR, ever since working from home, my boyfriend expects more housework to be done, because he thinks I have all the time in the world to do it. How can I communicate to, or show him how much work I do in the day, and how it stresses me out to try to do all this housework on top of my regular work? So, let's get this straight. You're in a relationship with an alcoholic who doesn't understand or care how much work you put into your actual job, instead thinking that your job is so freaking easy that you should not just be able to, but rather feel obligated to care for the home more or less on your own. He continually brings this up to the point where you feel so unsure that you have to ask others to validate that you're not crazy for expecting even the most basic respect for your work. You've already spoken to him about this, and he still continues to ignore that and instead repeats the same entitled bullshit as earlier. You don't have a boyfriend. You have a grown child. Does he bring anything positive to your life? If you have kids down the line and your kid ends up with a man like your boyfriend, would you be happy for them? If a friend of yours came to you and told you everything you've told us, and no doubt a hell of a lot more issues, would you advise them to stay and work it out? Because I wouldn't. Why are you still with this raging dumpster fire in a human-shaped suit? Why stay with an alcoholic? It's just going to get worse. But let's go ahead and attack this one problem at a time. He doesn't see what you do as work because it is probably not physically demanding, and while working 50 hours a week he still gets paid more than you. He doesn't value your work as work, but as a hobby, as is traditional with the pink collar view of easy jobs. I'm willing to bet he expects you to be a Sam. My suggestion: run for the hills and ghost him, as the divide between you will only get worse, and with time it'll only get harder to leave him. If you fear for your safety, go to a women's shelter. If your partner weren't an alcoholic, he's find a lot more time to do chores. I think it's clear this isn't a good relationship for you, and possibly not for him either. But if you aren't going to leave, and he isn't going to get help, then I think you just need to divide up the chores evenly, and then stick to the division. I was in a similar situation. although not with the WFH aspect. He was projecting why his life wasn't farther along / better on me. Everything that I fixed at his insistence became something else. First it was chores, then bills, then sex. You aren't going to get peace unless he addresses his alcoholism and the reasons behind it. And honestly, it doesn't sound like sticking around for. As an alcoholic in recovery, I can without a doubt tell you that this guy's wires are crossed, and he will never get it. It'll take him years after he puts down the drink to even begin to be ready to process things in a healthy manner. Look, part of alcoholism is that the addict finds people in their life to pick up the slack for them. This helps them avoid addressing their addiction. Codependency and alcoholism is like one of the most iconic duos. You may have fallen into this pattern because of your own predispositions. Is it a pattern for you to be around people who take without giving? Do you feel like you deserve a partner who prioritizes you and makes sacrifices for you? Unfortunately, I don't think this is going to get better, and I think you need to really reconsider being in this relationship. Don't just talk to us internet strangers. Talk to people in your family. Has he alienated you from your family? That's another classic problem found in codependent relationships. The giver gets isolated because their family and friends disapprove. A lot of things can be worked on, but this is his addiction. And do not make the mistake of thinking he will change because you asked him to. Forget trying to communicate with him about how you are trying your very best. You should be telling him he should be doing those chores, not you. He works fewer hours than you do. On those occasional Wednesdays he gets off, he should be doing the laundry and other chores, not sitting on his sexist guzzling grog all day and abusing you. I didn't even finish reading, but this sounds like my dad. Bro, I have my own schoolwork for 8 high school classes and I'm very soon about to be starting some college classes at the same time. And then I got 3 younger siblings to help with schoolwork and I don't finish till about 10 at night. And then I got schoolwork on the weekends too. And all he can do is complain about housework not being done when he gets home. Usually alcohol fueled too. I'm just 15, bro. It takes a toll on me, bro. Female bro. If the age for the BF in this post was closer to my father's age, I would have been shook.